Tell me your name, what instruments you play, and if you're in a band.
My name is Emma. I sing and I'm in three bands. One is called Take Four, one is called Whale Fall, and the last one is Dakota.
Okay, so of these three bands, which is the one you're most involved in?
Whale Fall.
I go by Dan Sosa Silva. I play many instruments. Bass is my main one. Play guitar, drums, keyboard, ukulele. I do production. I sing. I songwrite. I'm in a band called Lootbug. There's two ways to go about talking about music. There's the listening to music. There's the playing music. For me, I never cared about music until I was in the 8th grade. It was just whatever. Obviously there were some artists I liked, but it was whatever until all of a sudden it was something to me. And it also happened to be around the same time I got my first bass guitar, which I only got because my dad was like, I'll get you a keyboard for Christmas. But I was like, okay, but actually, I want a bass guitar. It's like the same price. From there, it was just kind of, I don't know, it became my thing.
I just have this love for singing. It's always been there, and I haven't sang in front of people for that long. I actually started a year ago, and that's when the band stuff started. But it's just there's just something about music, It just kind of changes you. So I got into it.
It was Ian Curtis of Joy Division that made me want to write my own song, which I did about a year after I got my bass guitar, because that was when I realized I could play and sing at the same time. And playing bass while singing is quite hard. It still is hard. There was nobody but myself, so I did everything, and I made it work the way I was able to do it, and that was, at the time when I was in high school, the cheapest way possible. Quite literally with iMovie. I made music with iMovie, solo music with iMovie. Because I've solo music out on the internet, which I don't really talk about, mainly because that's not what my focus is now. It first started out with just putting my phone down, doing voice memos, and recording myself singing and playing bass, not even plugged in, just dry bass in my room. But obviously, sound quality wise, it's horrible. There's only one way to make things sound better, and that is if you can record each instrument individually. And so iMovie has a voiceover feature where you're able to put in a single, movie file, 3 tracks of voiceovers. And I would just spam that. I would do, I think, a bass line or something, and then the drums, and I would just keep layering it. Vocals would be in there, exporting it, putting it back in, getting 3 more. I will say it's horrible for your body. I don't recommend it at all. And I did that for a year until I was finally, I think, well, this was before I was able to have a job. So this was when I was 16, just turned 16 basically. I finally got a job, finally had money. That's when I got Ableton. So I was finally able to upgrade then. It was out of necessity that I did iMovie.
Tell me about the formation of Whale Fall.
So I met this guy at an open mic, and I really liked his songs. I love the way that he wrote, and I love the way that he sang, and I just wanted to work with him, and he agreed. So I started making art for him. He was producing an album at the time, and then I started singing on the songs, and then we figured why not just form a band together. We're really inspired by all of the music around us in the local scene. We go to shows together. We're inspired by art, zines. We make our own zines. We love nature. We love going on hikes, and even seeking out graffiti.
Tell me about your band, Lootbug. How did that come along?
I was the last member to come along, I guess. In fact, the person who started Lootbug is not even in the band right now. Their name is Layla, and they wanted to start a band with Henry and Adam. Adam, he played guitar a few years in the past. He's done breakcore stuff, electronic music. And Henry picked up the drums for the band. And then later along came Nick, who was, and still is, the lead guitarist for it. And so Henry and Adam, they were the ones writing the songs. And there was a show in June of 2024 that they put on in Henry's basement for just friends. It was pretty messy, I can't lie. And so I've known Henry since middle school, and he knew I did music stuff, but for whatever reason, he never thought to ask me until after that show, which I was there not only to see them play, but at the time I had house music that I made, and I faked DJ'd there. I just had a mixer, and I said I'll join, but I want to write my own things. But that summer we practiced a lot, trying to get songs ready for fall, which had our first shows. I think it was more just trying to become something as opposed to nothing. And it just continued on with me writing songs, Henry writing songs, Adam writing songs. Nick, he has written some songs, but we haven't really gone along with it just because there's a lot to being in a band. I mean, you got 4 people to manage. You have shows to try to get. You have practices. You have marketing. You have trying to record, which is a whole other thing to get into. So it's a lot. But I mean, I don't want to like stoke my own ego, but and then they'll say this too, the other members. Me joining the band is what like really brought us to actually start doing things and got us into the Connecticut scene. And I mean, at this point, we're well in there. We're well in the CT scene. Me, Adam, and Henry are all multi-instrumentalists, and also people who produce and know how to produce things. So we have, I guess, I don't know, I wouldn't even call it privilege, the skills to be able to sit down and essentially create an entire song on our DAWs and then show the band. Practice is important, yes, but I think listening to music is even more important. I mean, you gotta listen to music. Listen to what you like, but you listen to as much as you can. I mean, really, we have, with streaming, as horrible as it is for artists, you have all the music that's out there. Start somewhere for a song, an influence. Hey, I like this band, I like this song, and go from there. And that's what I do, right? There's this song I like, let me try to make my own version of that, and I try to come up with lines, a structure. Then that's when I put it down into a DAW. Then hopefully my band likes it, and then we start practicing it. And they usually, as I want them to, tweak the lines I wrote for them and make it their own.
Okay, so after you guys finish making a full track, what do you end up doing with it?
We like to perform at open mics. We'll play it at our next show. And we're actually working on producing a studio album that we're going to release on Bandcamp in the future.
Why Bandcamp over other platforms like Spotify and Apple Music and stuff like that?
Bandcamp just treats its artists better. And we just personally don't support Spotify. We don't support Apple Music.
Right now, Lootbug has no official music out. We have demos on SoundCloud. We are trying to record stuff, but that's this whole other thing. But it's just playing it, honest. Because I mean, why else do you do music other than to play it? I guess there's some people who want to get into it for money. I'll tell you, like, I'll be completely honest. I've made as little as $12 on a show. Right, like personally. I've made as little as $12 because we split it, 4 ways. So like, you're not in it for the money, you're in it for the music. It feels good to play it. And so when we're done with that song, after we've practiced it, we're like, okay, we'll play it at this show that's coming up. And that's kind of it right now, I guess. I mean, playing live with other people, it's like the best feeling ever.
In your own words, what does it mean to be a musician?
Being a musician is just like putting a piece of yourself out there to me.
I guess the obvious answer it's to be someone who creates things. But I mean, I guess just musician who plays instruments or musician who writes things. Because if you're saying words, then you're saying things. And it is important to be mindful of what you're saying, right? Do you want to, is what you're saying what you want to be saying? And as for like the playing thing, I think it's trying to give people a good time or maybe a bad time. Trying to make them feel something, I guess, is probably the more proper answer.
Is there anything else you'd like to add or comment on?
Support the local scene. Support local artists.
I think at the end of the day, I just want to create things.
Yeah.
Music just happens to be like the main thing because I've been playing bass for like 8 years.
Yeah, that's what resonates with you most.
Yeah, I mean, I'm listening to music all the time too.
Same here.
So, I mean, all types of music too. Not just like the genre we play in. I mean, we could talk about electronic music. You know Underworld?
Yes.
They're like one of my favorite groups ever. It doesn't matter like what genre, just one of my favorite groups. Just amazing stuff. But going into that, if you do any type of music, don't just listen to that type of music. It's boring if you do that.
Yeah.
Very, very boring.